Hello and welcome back to the second David 67 YouTube Celtic News live streams for this afternoon, Monday the 23rd of October. This second live stream, a little brief live stream review of Celtic women's match yesterday against Rangers women, which sadly we lost 2-1 with a late Rangers goal. Meaning they take all the points and go 1 point clear of Celtic at the top of the Scottish Women's Premier League, with Rangers, as I say, going 1 point clear, and also their goal difference being 2 goals better than Celtic's. And I think that might be, in the end, an important factor. Before we crack on with the full live stream, if you haven't already, please do click the subscribe button and click the like button, as both will help this channel get momentum to start improving further. And so if you can, please do click the subscribe button and the like button. It will make me so happy. Watched the Celtic versus Rangers women's match live on Sky yesterday, and I thought the first half was rather disappointing, rather negative from both sides. Celtic remained on top, probably had the best chance of the first half when Murphy Agnew got one-on-one with the goalkeeper, went wide, but couldn't quite get her shot back on goal properly. Celtic did have probably more of the game, negated Rangers in midfield. Have to say, I was rather surprised at the selection. Celtic's success so far this season has been based on our very strong back three of Chloe Craig, Caitlin Hayes and Kelly Clark. The three of them play very well as a unit defensively, able to cover out wide and with the other players filling in the middle. And all three are very good at starting the attack and mopping up balls over the top. So I was rather surprised to see Chloe Craig move to a wide right-sided midfield role with Sydney Cummings coming into the back three. I think Cummings actually is a perfectly good player, but she hasn't played terribly much with Hayes and Clark in defence, and so I think at times Celtic looked a little bit disorganised in defence. A bit surprised that Chloe Craig was used out wide on the right, when probably she might have been better maybe playing as a defensive midfielder. Rangers quite often got their midfield forward into the hole behind the strikers, and so possibly getting Craig in that hole might have worked, or using possibly actually Caitlin Hayes, who's maybe a wee bit better on the ball, a wee bit more strong on the ball and strong in her tackle in that role. Also rather surprising, because I think against Partick Thistle in the previous match, Paulo Partido was probably Celtic's best player, and so it was a surprise to see her on the bench. And I would be much happier to see Partido out wide on the right, where she is able to both defend as required and also get forward and get involved in the mix-up with Jenny Smith and Colette Kavanagh in central midfield, and maybe keeping Sydney Cummings on the bench with her first choice back three. Up front, Kit Lefersky was on the bench, which also for me was a surprise, because Kit's pace last year was a factor against many teams, but particularly against Rangers. Murphy Agnew, perfectly good player, can play striker, can play midfield. I thought possibly, though, Kit Lefersky's greater pace might have got in behind Rangers' back three, opening up space for Smith, Kavanagh, and the two Shens to come through from midfield, and also opening up chances for Amy Gallagher also up front. Lefersky and Partido did come on later in the match. but didn't really, I feel, have quite as much time to influence the match than they might have had they started. And I think possibly had Celtic started a bit more on the front foot, got on top of Rangers early, using the pace of Partido out wide and Lefersky through the middle, it might well have worked out better. However, retrospect is always a great thing to have. Fran Alonso made his choices. He did agree in his post-match interview that he maybe did make some tactical errors and player choice errors. And so hopefully Celtic coaching staff and the players will all reflect on this match, which was exceedingly close, and come again next time we play Rangers and Glasgow City, because I think the title will be between those three. And on yesterday's evidence, I think Celtic and Rangers will move further and further away from Glasgow, both this season and over the next few seasons, as the extra money and input that Celtic and Rangers giving their women's side, I think, will take them out of the league of Glasgow City being able to cope with them financially and in terms of player recruitment and keeping their players at the club. So, as I said, going into half-time, 0-0. Both teams had some chances, but no great chances. Murphy Agnew probably having the best chance of the two sides in the first half. Second half, again, started much the same. Celtic had reasonable control of the midfield. Caitlin Hayes then scored a great goal with her head heading it into the far corner. At that point, I think Celtic did go a wee bit on the back foot. I think had they kept strong in midfield, kept pushing forward, that would have allowed Rangers midfield and attacking players not to get so much control of the ball and control of the play. Rangers scored an equaliser shortly after Celtic had taken the lead. Rangers pretty much stayed, I think, on the front foot after that. Celtic allowing them a bit too much space in midfield and out wide. And a nice run down the left, crossed into the middle, and one of their two strikers, Rio Hardy, actually scored a good goal, heading the ball past Kelsey Doherty from about 6 yards, and Kelsey had no chance really to save the shot, the header. Celtic then did get actually back into the game, had a few half chances, but nothing really that great. Rangers defended their lead well, and Celtic tried their hardest, but didn't really have that much luck. Rangers quite cleverly gave away quite a lot of free kicks, quite a lot of time wasting, and they managed to see out the game. Celtic did throw Caitlin Hayes up into a front three towards the end, which didn't really work, as we didn't really seem to use her as a target player for Gallagher and Lefersky to play off of, or for the midfielders to come through and get layoffs from. And so that didn't also really work terribly well for Celtic. However, that's the first 11 matches of the season gone for Celtic. After this, they'll then go into the second round of 11 matches, and then there will be a split at the end, leading towards the final title run. Celtic will soon be playing again in the Sky sponsored cup, which in effect is the League Cup for the women. Then later on will start their defence of the Scottish Women's FA Cup. And so there's still an awful lot for Celtic to play for. And I think this Celtic team, possibly with a bit more experience and slightly improved tactics, I think this Celtic team can equally beat Rangers in later games of the season, as was the case in the last Women's Scottish Cup final at the end of last season. And so I think there's still tremendous potential and positivity around the women's match and the women's team. So I would intend to keep on doing maybe a weekly review of the women's team as part of this channel, and adding in wee bits about the women's team into the main daily videos as and when suitable, and do hope you like the women's coverage, as no other Celtic channels are really covering the women's team to any extent. So for today, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and for today, if you do like the channel, please do click the subscribe button, click the like button also for these videos. And so for today, goodbye, chat again tomorrow, and hail, hail.